Our Business from the Bench segment tonight. Every time you hear a story about a public high school football team saying a prayer before the game, liberals are the first to cry out about the separation of church and state. But when Democratic senators question a judicial nominee over whether her Catholic faith makes her unfit to be a judge, liberals go silent. Watch this.
It's an Orthodox Catholic.
As I recall, that term, we said something like, for lack of a better term, we're using the term Orthodox Catholic, and there was a long footnote saying, that was an imperfect term. It could, refer to Orthodox Judaism, Greek Orthodox. And so we kind of cast about, but what that term was designed to capture, because we were talking about conscientious objection, was a judge who accepted the church's teaching that the death penalty would be impermissible in that case. We wrote about it from the perspective of a Catholic judge because my professor, John Garvey, had already undertaken that project, but it's really a problem that could face a judge of any religion or no religion at all who had a conscientious objection to the death penalty.
Do you consider yourself an Orthodox Catholic?
I am a Catholic, Senator Durbin.
How does this not violate the religious test clause of the Constitution? And why don't liberals want to hold themselves to the same standards to which they hold conservatives? With me now, legal affairs reporter for the Daily Caller News Foundation, Kevin Daly. Kevin, good to see you.
Hi, Wiz. Great to be with you.
Kevin, this is astounding to watch this footage. I mean, Senator Durbin, without any shame, without any hesitation, asks this professor, she's the nominee for a federal judgeship, by the way, asks her if she's an Orthodox Catholic. How is that considered appropriate behavior?
So, Senator Durbin wasn't even the only member of the Judiciary Committee who raised the matter of Professor Barrett's faith. Senator Dianne Feinstein, who's the ranking Democrat on that panel, also expressed concern about the ability of an Orthodox religious believer to discharge their judicial duties. And at one point in the hearing, she said something to the effect of, I have reviewed your speeches, your writings, and what I have concluded is that the dogma dwells loudly within you, her words, and that's of concern. As you mentioned, this raises a constitutional issue to the extent that the Constitution clearly and unambiguously prohibits the institution of a religious test for any federal office. But yesterday's hearing showed just how tenuous that constitutional protection is for this reason. There is no mechanism by which Professor Barrett could seek judicial relief for this violation. She cannot sue Senator Durbin and Senator Feinstein into compliance with the constitutional provision, with the Constitution here. There's absolutely no mechanism for it. And in fact, these senators' comments are probably protected by the Constitution's speech and debate clause, which protects members of Congress from civil liability when they are discharging their official duties, as they were here. So yesterday's hearing was a reminder that this key provision of the Constitution rests entirely on the prudence of senators and on our trust that members of Congress will do the right thing in these situations.
Right, and it seems to me that they violated that trust yesterday. I mean, I don't know how this could be interpreted by any reasonable person as being anything other than a direct religious test. They asked her, are you an Orthodox Catholic? There is no reason they would need to know that unless her answer, if it had been affirmative, would have been a disqualifier for them. That is such dangerous territory. I mean, it's hard for me even to believe. I mean, when Senator Feinstein said dogma lives loudly within you, I don't know why this judge didn't answer, does it matter?
Yeah, I would say a couple of things. I spoke with Senator Durbin after the hearing. I asked him when he thought it was appropriate to discuss a nominee's religious views during the course of a confirmation hearing. And he agreed that as a general proposition, religion should not be discussed during a confirmation hearing. But he said that Amy Coney Barrett has fashioned herself as something of an expert on faith in public life, to the extent that she's written extensively on that topic in her capacity as a law professor at Notre Dame Law School. And that's certainly true. And so for that reason, he felt comfortable raising this matter. But, I think that his comments yesterday and Senator Feinstein's comments yesterday kind of transgressed the boundary of acceptable inquiry into her academic writings and into some more troubling territory. And I think that this is, the sort of instance that people of faith think about when they talk about the aggressive secularization of the country. I feel comfortable saying that most religious believers probably aren't concerned about, the sort of, Christians to the arena persecution that one saw in the early days of the church. But when when an Orthodox religious believer expresses concern about aggressive secularization, I think that they think of a scenario like this, in which a person who has traditional religious beliefs is placed before a government panel in connection with their ambition to participate in the public life of the country, and their religious beliefs are put up for scrutiny.
Right, their religious beliefs are used as a disqualifier. I mean, they weren't talking about rulings that she's made or even teachings that she's taught. As a law professor at Notre Dame, they asked her what was in her heart. They were literally sitting there playing God, saying, tell us about the beliefs that are in your heart and we'll decide whether that makes you fit for office. It is absolutely such a violation of Article 6. This is what Professor Barrett has written herself. She said, it is never appropriate for a judge to apply their personal convictions, whether it derives from faith or personal conviction. She's talking about when a judge is writing or concluding some sort of ruling here. But I guess this opposition comes from this left-wing group who says that she has advocated prioritizing religious views over established case law when the two are in conflict here. Joel, Kevin, I'm sorry, has that ever happened in the history of her rulings?
This opposition research, quote unquote, that you referenced comes from a left-wing group called the Alliance for Justice. They derived their line of attack from a law review article she wrote 20 years ago called Catholic Judges in Capital Cases. She considered a very narrow set of grounds in this paper. It concerned what a Catholic district court judge or trial judge should do if they are a conscientious objector to the death penalty. And what she concluded, that they are conscientious objector to the death penalty and they are, in the course of their judicial duties, made to issue an order of execution against a convict. And what she concluded should be done is the judge should recuse themselves because of their conflict. In other words, she says, if a judge cannot carry out their judicial duties because of a matter of conscience, they should recuse themselves and have another judge do it. They should not allow their religious convictions to dictate how they rule. So in fact, in her academic writings, Professor Barrett has taken precisely the opposite position. And in fact, one of the areas of expertise in which she's developed in her career as an academic is the doctrine of stare decisis, the doctrine of legal precedent. And she's written extensively about the benefits of precedent and how precedent brings balance and order to the judicial system.
Right.
So this line of attack against Professor Barrett is, in my view, has absolutely no grounding in her actual writings.
No, it isn't. And if you look at that research, it should actually give liberals reassurance that she wouldn't apply her own religious views to any cases and that she thinks that it's not appropriate for judges to do that they have a responsibility just to uphold the law. And if they're not comfortable doing that, they should step aside and let someone else do that. It's as simple as that. Kevin, thank you so much for coming on the show. I appreciate it.